Welcome to the Six-Figure Mastermind. Today we're going to be talking about how to have a positive mindset. Man, if you're anything like me, you have heard the negative nitties and the downer dannies all over the place. Now it's time to clear out all of that chaos and get laser focused. Hey, Marianne DeNovellis here, and we are asking ourselves today, how do we have a positive mindset? This is a great question, and one that a lot of people aren't even conscious of in the beginning. Many of you are like me, and you've experienced what I lovingly refer to as the zombie effect. And this zombie effect is this rat race, this routine, we're going through the motions of life, and we get up and we push our alarm, maybe after we've hit snooze a few times, and we go through the motions of eating breakfast. We don't even think about it, can't even remember what we ate. Then we're gonna get up and go to work, and then we're gonna drive on the freeway, and then we're gonna come home, and then we're gonna do whatever things we do in the afternoon, like maybe be with your family, or work on some homework, or maybe veg in front of the TV. Who knows? And then we go to bed and we get up and we do it again. And we're living without passion. When you're living without passion, you're kind of living without purpose. And it's so easy to get sucked into that zombie phrase where you say, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And that is the perfect playground for this negative thought process to take hold and take over. So, how do we break the cycle? How do we get out of it? And how do we shift completely into this positive mindset? That's the question we're here to ask today. There's a couple things that you need to know about. The first thing is this. In your world, in your experience, there's something that you've probably heard of, and it's called the comfort zone. The comfort zone is a familiar phrase, but not a lot of us actually understand what it means to have a comfort zone. So let's keep track of what's going on here. In our comfort zone, we've got our current income. We've got our home. We've got the car that we drive. We've got our relationships. We've got our job. Everything that you're experiencing in your current reality is part of your comfort zone. Even if you don't like it, even if you say, well, hang on, Marianne, how can my wealth or my income or maybe my lack thereof be part of my comfort zone? I'm clearly not comfortable with this because I want something else. How could that possibly be part of my comfort zone? This is what I want to share with you. The comfort zone is actually a misnomer. It doesn't even have the right name. I lovingly refer to it as the familiar zone instead. And maybe that makes more sense. I'm familiar with this. I'm familiar with that car. I'm familiar with not having enough money. I'm familiar with this kind of home. I'm familiar with my car breaking down over and over and over again. Think about the top struggle that you have, and now think about how many years you've been dealing with this. How often has this been a recurring problem for you? And if you're anything like me, you'll have the same answer. Over and over and over again. And so that's why we call it the familiar zone. Now, here's the key. Everything in your familiar zone is what you're currently living. We know it because that's where you're living. What happens when you break through that familiar zone? That's when the magic happens. Everything that you don't have in your world that you would like to have is outside that comfort zone. That's where we say the magic is. Maybe the wealth that you want to have, that's out here, outside your comfort zone. Maybe the amazing connected relationships that you want to have, they're over here, but they're outside your comfort zone. Maybe the income or the job or the house or the dog or whatever it is that you're looking for in your world that you don't currently have that you desire, guess where it is? It's outside your comfort zone. So how do we get from point A to point B? How do we get from inside this comfort zone to where the magic happens? And that is where we bring in the positive mindset. The positive mindset says we are going to take an inventory. Now, inventory. If you've ever worked in the retail world, you know what that word means. And I got to tell you, I used to work in this amazing bookstore, and we didn't sell just books. We sold small items like rings and jewelry and candies and all of these other things that required a lot of SKUs or SKUs in our system, which meant every time we rung someone up, the computer would know what was there. I remember doing inventory. We used to do it every 6 months to a year. And what we would do is close down the entire store early and then count every single thing that was in our store. And we would prep for inventory for weeks before. We would go and backstock, make sure there was nothing hiding. We would clear out all the shelves, dust everything down, scan the store from the entire top to bottom to make sure we didn't miss a single item. And when we closed down that store for inventory day, it was a long day. We brought in food and snacks because we knew we were going to be there for a while. And as we counted every single item, if it existed in our store, we knew about it. We had an entire team doing this inventory with us. And after we would count every single item that we had in stock, then we got to do what was called the inventory reconciliation. After the inventory reconciliation, we would go through a discrepancy report, and here's what that looked like. The computer would say one thing, meaning the computer thought it knew what we would have in stock. And then we had this other reality where, okay, here's what we actually have in stock, and then we got to run the numbers and find the difference as we compared the two. So think about this in your world. If you've got an inventory in your mind, here's what you get to do. You're going to go through, you're going to shut down everything for a day. You're going to take some deliberate time for you, maybe with a pad of paper or 12, and write down everything that you've got in your inventory. What are all the thoughts that are going through your mind? What is the belief system that you're operating on that is creating your reality? I want you to write this down. Your thoughts create your actions, which create your results. Your thoughts create your actions, which create your results. So if we're going to rewind and find out why our results are not what we want, we got to go back to inventory and inventory our thoughts. So take out a pad of paper. In fact, pause this video right here and take some time to write down everything that you've got going on in your mental inventory. Great, you got it? Here's what I want you to do. Write down all of your inventory, and next to it, you've got your desires. Pause the video again. Grab out a second sheet of paper and write down all of your desires. This is everything the computer says that you should have, everything that you want in your world. You have this list of your inventory and your list of the desires. Pause right now and write that down. Great. So you've got your inventory, which is your current mindset, all of your thinking, and on a separate sheet of paper, you've got everything in your world that you desire. Now it's time for the reconciliation report. Now it's time to find out where the two don't match. Where are the gaps? What's keeping what you have separate from what you want? Maybe it's ideas. Maybe it's concepts. You get to find the gaps and create the bridge. And here's what the bridge looks like. When we were doing our inventory in that bookstore I used to work at, we would spend hours and hours and hours double checking our actual inventory against the computer had, because in the end, we were going to go with what we actually had on personal. We really wanted to make sure it was accurate. So this is what you get to do in your mindset. You're going to factor in everything that's working for you and everything that's not working for you and compare it against what you want. So doing this inventory means you get to find the difference and see what's bridging it. And I guarantee you, what you're going to find is a series of thoughts and emotions that are fueling your actions, that are fueling your results. Every time you find one of those on a third sheet of paper, I want you to write them all down. In fact, again, you're going to pause this video and create a third sheet of paper with everything that on it that needs to be bridged. Okay, have you got your bridge? Have you got all of the parts that need to be crossed over into creating what you want in your world? Here's what we're going to do. One by one, we're going to question it. We're going to see what's working and what's not working. If you've got an idea, thought process right up here that's not working for you, let's turn it around. Let's question it. Maybe, for example, you have some that say, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's question that and say, I know my best next step. Maybe you've got a thought in there that says, what I want is a healthy body, but what I have is one that's sick or overweight. And the bridge says, I'm not good enough, or I'm too fat, or I'm too slow. Let's flip it around and say, I nourish my body. I know how to take great care of it. I do steps every day that nourish my mind, body, and soul and bring them all into harmony. We're going to take a moment and go through all of those thought processes and turn them around. This is going to take some time. This is not an overnight trick. Just like inventory in that bookstore, when we closed down shop and took time to make sure everything was in alignment, this is what I'm going to invite you to do for you. And I promise you that your time will pay off. As you go through this checklist one by one, questioning everything and turning it around, you get to find out that your inventory is going to be massively upgraded and brought into perfect alignment with what you want. So here's my third step. Search and destroy. Now, what does this mean? What does it mean to search and destroy? A lot of times people will come up to me and say, Marianne, I'm afraid to look into this because I don't know what I'm going to find, and it could frankly wear me down, creep me out, or make me afraid. Now, a lot of people will stop there. They'll stop and say, you know what? That seems too hard. I don't want to do that. It takes time. I'm going to invite you to do this. Take the offensive position in your mind. Take control. Take mastery over what's going on in your thought process, because that is the single most important step, developing a positive mindset. Take that positive action step and develop that positive mindset, and you've got to be on a search and destroy mission for those thoughts. Here's what that means. Every time that you have a goal in mind, every time you've got maybe something on your vision board, maybe you look at someone else and say, wow, I would love to have that kind of a lifestyle. These thoughts, I promise you, will come into your mind and give you reason to doubt. And when you have that, you be the commander-in-chief of your mind and say, I am on a search and destroy mission. I'm so grateful that came up, and it gets to go away right now. That means I don't fear negativity. I don't fear negative thoughts. It has no hold on me because I am the commander-in-chief of my mind. So search and destroy. Go looking for things that are getting in your way, because when you step into it powerfully, you can overcome it every time. So if you really want a positive mindset, I know if you're anything like me, you didn't pause the video. So go back, rewind, watch the video again, and actually do the assignments that we had in the video. Because when you do, you're on the next step to your powerful transformation. Hit the subscribe button below, ring us a bell, and we'll look forward to hearing from you tomorrow.